from Berlioz. Just a couple of comments. One is there's been accusations of like a knee-jerk reaction. You know, that's easy to say, but there's been tremendous thought, tremendous work, and tremendous listening and compromise. I want to thank the sponsor of the bill, Mr. Speaker. Now, we had a beautiful hearing about 2 weeks ago. The gallery was full, and we need to, respect the fact that guns are an integral part of people's lives here in Mexico. Taking your son or daughter hunting, taking them to target practice, that's a family tradition that will never be infringed and that we should all respect. Some people love guns whether it's a right or not. Some people don't like guns whether it's a right or not, and we all have to respect that. I think that the sponsor, Mr. Gentleman, listened incredibly well, because all of the criticisms, Mr. Speaker, all of the criticisms of the original drafting of this bill no longer exist. They no longer exist. All of the issues, all of the concerns were addressed in this final draft. And what this final draft does is it simply requires, when you go to a gun show, some of the booths are federal firearm licensors, some of the booths are not, and if you buy a gun from a booth that's not, you simply walk 20 feet over to a booth that has an FFL, and you purchase the gun. And so I find it hard I'm listening again to all the reasons, and just for some of the speakers who are against this bill, just give me a reason. Give me a reason why two people can't walk 20 feet or 40 feet to purchase a gun. How is that unreasonable? And so, Mr. Speaker, gentlemen, does this bill, Mr. Speaker, gentlemen, prohibit any law-abiding citizen from purchasing a gun?
No, Speaker, no.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, gentlemen. I think that, this bill and this issue, more than anything else, kind of brings out our constitutional scholars, and all this does is close a loophole that should have been closed years ago. It's a contradiction that I could buy a gun from this booth and have to go through a background check, and then the booth next door not go through a background check. As an attorney, I don't really appreciate the word loophole. I think that legal distinctions deserve a little more respect than that, but it's a contradiction in law that must be corrected. And this bill corrects it. Getting real quick, Mr. Speaker, gentlemen, if I may just talk about the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment and the word infringe has been interpreted by the courts and by us. I want to appreciate the gentleman from Berlin who said a wise thing. He said, I think that it violates the Constitution. In my opinion, I think it violates the Constitution. That's actually an intellectually correct statement, because we can all have an opinion on the Constitution. But the opinions that create law are the opinions of the Supreme Court. And the opinions of the Supreme Court, although we may disagree with those opinions, that is in fact the law. So we have gentlemen from the Sheriff's Association, gentlemen from other associations say it's in violation of the Constitution. Well, actually, no, it's not. It really isn't. So I'm going to read from Justice Scalia, who wrote the opinion in the DC versus Heller case. And in that case, DC's gun ban was ruled unconstitutional, but he clarified commercial sales. And so I can't believe I'm quoting from Justice Scalia, but he may have been onto something. And so the thing about Justice Scalia's opinions is they may be wrong, but they're the law. A Supreme Court justice's opinion is the law. Our opinions are just opinions. And Justice Scalia laid it out, and hopefully we're clear after this. He says, on basically page 64 of the opinion, like most rights, the right secured by the Second Amendment is not unlimited. From Blackstone, who was an 18th century legal scholar, from Blackstone through the 19th century cases, commentators and courts routinely explained that the right was not a right to keep and carry any weapon whatsoever in any manner whatsoever, and for whatever purpose. For example, the majority of 19th century courts to consider the question held that prohibitions on carrying concealed weapons were lawful under the Second Amendment or state analogs. Although we do not undertake an exhaustive historical analysis today of the full scope of the Second Amendment, nothing in our opinion should be taken to cast doubt on long-standing prohibitions on the possession of firearms by felons and the mentally ill, or laws forbidding the carrying of firearms in sensitive places such as schools, government buildings, or laws imposing conditions and qualifications on the commercial sale of arms. And that's what we're dealing with here today, and another one of my colleagues will expound on this, but this law is totally constitutional. So then it becomes a question of, is it the right thing to do and is it reasonable? Mr. Speaker, gentlemen, have you noticed in the 7 years I've been up here, I don't think I've ever met a lobbyist from Smith & Wesson, from Winchester, from Cole, from Remington, from Springfield. I've never had a lobbyist from these manufacturers that sell in excess of 8 or 10 million guns a year. A multi-billion-dollar industry in this country doesn't have lobbyists, and the reason they don't is because frankly they've hijacked the NRA. And we have a wonderful lobbyist from the NRA that educate us with regards to guns, but the majority of NRA members support this bill. And so I asked our members to support the membership of that organization. And even the head of the organization, Mr. Dillon, back in '99 supported this bill. And you could YouTube that comment. And so, and the arguments go round and round. And I'll just in closing, Mr. Speaker, gentlemen, there are so many arguments with regard to this bill that they contradict each other. And even the prior speaker contradicted himself because, number one, he doesn't want to restrict, he doesn't want to infringe on gun rights, but yet had an amendment that in fact infringed on gun rights. They want us to concentrate on dealing with mentally ill, but the mentally ill component infringed on gun rights. And so I kind of think, Mr. Gentleman, that the NRA is not concerned about gun rights. It's the leadership of the NRA, rather, is not concerned with gun rights, it's concerned with gun sales. And that's unfortunate. So I stand today with the members of the NRA, not the leadership of the NRA. Another contradiction is when it's convenient, we hate the federal government, we hate federal imposition, we hate federal law that tell states what to do. And now my friends in opposition kind of cling to federal laws on this issue. And the greatest argument, because I don't want to go through them all, but kind of like the little laughing, the teeth that clatter like that, the little laughing teeth in my tummy get a kick out of this one. And it's like, well, we shouldn't pass this law because some people won't get busted by doing it. You know, we shouldn't pass this law because some criminals will find their way around it. I've never heard that argument in any of the criminal bills we've ever done. But that one's my favorite. And so, Mr. Gentleman, I just want to thank the members. I think that this is reasonable. It clears up a contradiction in law. It certainly isn't a poll tax, but nice try. And I appreciate the courage and the listening skills and the compromising skills of the sponsor to get something done that should have been done a long time ago. And I know that we reflect, Mr. Speaker, gentlemen, on the beautiful 20 children that passed away in Connecticut, but this is really about the 10,000 homicides a year by handguns and suicides, and we should be reasonable, we should be thoughtful, and we should do the right thing. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.